2 minutes ahead of schedule today. Very weird timing for me, and as I am, very intertwined in different baseball spheres right now, and seemingly more popular there than I am on hockey Twitter, at least for the moment. Of course, the sweep just went down, but of course also so did the Rafael Devers trade, according to different sources. So seeing that alert right before I went on was quite, I don't know, confuzzling. I don't have a good word for what sort of mind state that put me in, but that's neither here nor there right now. Another set of games of varying degrees of competitiveness in this rematch of the Stanley Cup Final. We'll see what can happen in Game 6 on Tuesday night. Calder Cup Finals is going on right now as well. In the AHL, Abbotsford took Game 1 over Charlotte in double overtime. Bit of controversy there with the would-be goal by Charlotte to otherwise win Game 1 was nixed due to Artur Silovs still having been working on equipment issues when the puck was dropped. Then, of course, Abbotsford did score that game's GWG to take it 4-3. Last I checked, Game 2 is at an intermission with the score tied 2-2. Yeah, let me see. Oh, now we got another one going to overtime in the Calder Cup Finals between the Abbotsford Canucks and the Charlotte Checkers. So, pretty entertaining rivet stuff. Who's got the goals so far? Yeah, let's see. John Leonard opened the goal scoring for Charlotte in the first pretty quickly. 3:13 in, Semi Blaze had the response in a minute and 2 seconds time. Wilmer Skoog put the Checkers up 2-1 on the power play at 11:14. And in a moment that would make Fetty Wap proud. Linus Carlson scored at 17:38 to tie it up for Abbotsford, with therefore accounting for all 4 goals scored in the first period. The teams locked in the second and third, not with neither team giving an inch after that. And now, of course, they're headed to overtime yet again. Looking about as close as those early Stanley Cup Final games did before, things ended up getting volatile and we had some more dominant Florida performances to account for 2 of their wins, including this most recent one.
Yeah, the Stanley Cup Final has definitely been really, really interesting, really compelling through 5 games. I think, at least looking at how Game 5 came to its conclusion, I think a lot of the narratives that, I was peddling as, a shit take merchant about Edmonton's defense and really just the way that they play, kind of getting exposed pretty consistently against, a very great, strong forechecking Florida team. And, aside from a couple of mental miscues, you know, I think they've played really well, but unfortunately against Florida, that forecheck, Brad Marchand especially, you can't really have mental miscues against him and them this year. I mean, seeing plays where I think it was the second Marchand goal, where just the defender in the neutral zone hesitated for a split second of, do I gap this puck? And in the time it took to make a goddamn decision, the guy was already behind him.
Indeed.
Indubitably so. And, I think Paul Coffey, who, if I recall correctly, is Edmonton's defensive coach, if they end up not rallying on Tuesday night and getting this to Game 7, you're going to really have to look at their coaching staff, specifically with the way that they've coached their D-men this year, and really question if those guys should be around next year. Because, I look at guys like Paul Coffey and Mark Stewart on the staff who should be coaching guys to fucking close gaps. Like, you're playing arguably the best forechecking team in the league besides yourself, and you're letting guys like Bennett and Marchand and Reinhart and Barkov have room to maneuver. Like, you can't give these guys space between the blue line and the red circles in transition. You can't let that space be there. But hey, man, what do I know?
Sad to say, due to his status as a franchise legend, but with them having come up close in a team against a team that that they're going to match up with as well as anybody possibly can. It's not, facing down Florida's just swarming capabilities, and just their high IQ group as a unit, especially, some of those very difficult top six forward matchups, and just being woefully unprepared for it. Paul Coffey might have to be their fallen angel next season.
Yeah, so much of it's just like guys making the miscues that they've made in transition in with their gaps. Like, it's entirely a coaching issue. Like, when I looked at what happened in Florida, or with Toronto, excuse me, like, for Toronto, they just didn't have the mobility on their back end to handle the pressure, and their offense just couldn't, execute when given opportunities down the stretch. Carolina, their back check was positioned well, but they just didn't have the talent down their lineup to prevent Florida from, winning one-on-ones and matchups. Like, Edmonton's clearly shown through the first two games of this series that, and Game 4 to their credit, where like when they're fucking locked in and their players are winning their one-on-ones, getting their isolations, staying in their gaps, and like they clearly have the roster ability to hang with Florida and outplay Florida. Like, the fact that they've had two games in this series where just the D-core is just not doing what they need to do is fucking insane to me. Like, you look at Dallas, and like Dallas lost to Edmonton, ironically, for similar reasons of, they were good enough. They just didn't execute, and they didn't adjust, and they didn't get themselves into situations where they could win the one-on-one matchups, and that's why Peter DeBoer's on the unemployment line right now. Like, I just, and the problem, like, it sucks for Knobloch, because, like, it's not, like, I can't look at Chris Knobloch and be like, he's the reason they're down 3-2, like, because Draisaitl's doing what he can. We've seen great play from guys like Corey Perry. Like, it's been there. It just hasn't. Like you can clearly look at the defensive play in those in their three losses and be like, "Yep, that's how we got here."
Yeah, like we've hit upon before, when these obvious, very correctable and very avoidable mistakes are the biggest determining factor in losses, especially when those are just piling up and accounting for large swaths of why these multi-goal defeats occur. It's a preparation issue. 100% with this sort of having similar patterns on the final minute backbreaker of the year, which eliminated the Boston Fleet from the playoff race on the final day of the season. It's like when it's not when there's just like when it's obviously not determined by like talent and it's just determined by like these just uh you know very obvious mental mistakes due to just like not having like their mental edges like sharpened enough. It's like what's going on between games in terms of this prep that's causing things to just be absolutely catastrophic. Like, and then you just have to look at the coaching staff and say, "I want action." That's two, baby.
You know,
Gonna
as
keep it
long
counter.
as as long as nobody continues, and they're gonna continue to like the narrative I'm fucking already tired of is Florida wants it more. Like if only top tier professional sporting competitions were a competition of willpower, uh, goddamn, you'd see some incredible feats of strength. Um, yeah, it's just one of those things of Florida plays the game a certain way. They play within their system. It's a nice and simple fucking system. They have 20 plus skaters in their roster group that play well within their system. And for some really strange reason, every other team in the NHL looks at Florida and says, "Whoa, how do we succeed like that?" When I look at a Florida, I'm going to talk shit about the Leafs for a second, where I look at a Toronto Maple Leafs team where, wow, we have maybe five guys in our forward group and maybe two defensemen that make sense in our system. Why can't we beat Florida? Huh. What could it possibly be? Oh, we got to get a guy like Sam Bennett who also doesn't work in our system. That's it.
Yeah. I was also a realization I had, and it's a talking point I've used before and seen kicked around is like, it's almost to the point where it's conventional wisdom. And this isn't to, take shots at the other head coach in this matchup at all. It's not a knock on Knobloch. It's just that part of the efficacy of Florida's fundamentals being what they are is not the simplicity is emphatic because like a part of the reason why it works so well is just because really like Paul Maurice's reason for being a major contributor to them taking the massive competitive leaps that they have in his time behind the bench is just because uh, he's a good communicator, both for the sake of conveying these ideas as well as getting guys to buy in. Like he's like the prime brand version of Rod Brendamore, effectively, when you get down to it. And I think that's like, you know, um, he's just, a very good like and not overrated culture guy, effectively. who just like gets you to really understand and internalize those X's and O's, and like even like the necessary um, intangible components as well. And I think that's like a big matchup advantage that they have because Edmonton doesn't have that on the other side, as we've seen based off of just how the intangible part of their game has been completely thrown, and it's their defensive core has definitely shown the worths there the most, I'd say, and that's definitely been something that's you know a big part of the narrative. Uh, is that has unfolded in across those 5 games.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing, what some teams, looking to the rest of the NHL for next year, God, I'm so not ready to watch the Anaheim Ducks play next season. Speaking of a team that knows what they are and they keep doing it, are you ready for a team to have maybe the worst shot diet from the left wing position that we're ever going to see in NHL history? Like, I'm already having nightmares of Cutter, Kreider, and Vetrano on the left side this year. Like, those three dudes will fucking shoot anything from anywhere at any time, and it's going to be awful.
They'll get you to lay your body down in the middle of the street. There we go. We're up to 3.
You know, if it wasn't for Joel Quenneville, I swear I'd be dead next season. We can count that as 3.5. But on a serious note of that, that Kreider acquisition is so odd to me because it really fucks up Anaheim's lineup logic moving forward. It kind of implies that Zegras has to move back to the center position, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense with what we were doing a year ago, which is quite strange of the thought of we're going to have a weird ass little Gauthier, Carlson, Kreider, Zegras, Vetrano, McTavish thing going on down there, and it's going to be odd with a lot of really bad shots. But hey, it does theoretically, and I alluded to this in the article I put out this weekend. Chris Kreider still knows how to finish, and that's worth something.
Yeah, only time will tell. 4.5.
I feel like this is all just karmic justice for what just went down with Rafael Devers at the start of this podcast.
Facts. All I can say to him is I won't forget you. 5.5.
I mean, I was trying to make a connection between that trade and Richie Kotzen, but it's not going to happen because Richie Kotzen's ironically a Pennsylvania native to begin with, so I ain't got nothing there. Shit, you're telling me Richie Kotzen should have played in Cinderella instead? Fuck. A little bit of Richie Kotzen, a little bit of Jackson Smith, a little bit of Gavin McKenna, a little bit of Tom Kiefer, if you know what I'm saying, a little bit of Harrisburg entertainment. Man, it's a damn shame we don't have enough SEO for that bet right there to be a moment of greatness for the state of Pennsylvania.
Somebody save us.
I mean, the one problem though with Gavin McKenna coming to Penn State, as reported by CHL to NCAA, is he's when he's one and done, he's going to take the last train out of the hearts of everybody in Harrisburg. Now that I've really muddied the waters here. Uh, uh, oh man, I'm gonna fucking Bud Dwyer.
Another
You know,
icon.
man, I have done very little for the state of Pennsylvania in the last 4 minutes, but man, do they have a great history.
Oh yeah. Have you ever seen his headstone? The motherfucker literally ended up with a headstone just shaped like the Keystone. Like it's very on the nose.
Ugh. You know who I think would appreciate that? Taylor Swift.
Maybe Sabrina Carpenter as well.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor Swift is the most notable person from Pennsylvania to have an impact on this year's Stanley Cup final.
And Sabrina Carpenter shares a birthday with Brad Marchand.
Yes, she does. Guilty by association. So, is it potentially then the curse of Sabrina Carpenter making it fucking rain every weekend in Boston since Marchand got traded?
Probably.
A little bit of espresso from the skies. Well, folks at home, if you didn't tell, we're nearing the end of the season and approaching the draft. Based on the last 6 minutes of this episode, you can tell we're having nothing but a good time on this one.
Yeah, I've been thinking about like, I love it. Like I can watch like a phenomenal game every few nights or so, every 2 nights even, which like the most remarkable thing about game 4 and game 5 for me was that there was only a days off rest between them, despite it being a home and home, which I was very grateful for. Um, but like I as I've documented in our GC before, like it's depressing for me when I end an episode and there's no game for me to put on. That's like the one drawback to this being like, you know, the peak and pinnacle of the sport from a gameplay standpoint for the second year in a row that we've been doing this. Both of our full NHL seasons that we covered have uh, ended on a high note in that respect. But like I'm like, man, it's depressing when I wrap an episode up and I don't have a game to watch. Uh, and like all I you know all I can reflect upon that is how every rose has its thorn. The most low hanging fruit one, but like, how could we not?
As I'm looking at the box score at the end of the Abbotsford and Charlotte game, I don't know what was more of a really strange thing for me to process in the box score. One, what the fuck is wrong with the Canucks and why has Sammy Blais been playing in the minors all season? Um, And I'll be honest with you, man. Seeing Zhujar Kaira's name in the box score, I just I didn't realize he was still playing in any capacity. Like I haven't thought of Zhujar Kaira since 2021 in Edmonton, ironically enough. And yeah, was not expecting to see his name on the box score there. Like that honestly feels like some like Shell 2015 random player that just got sent down to the minors after going through waivers 8 million times in the game.
But you know what's probably most incensing to Jay Fresh is Jesse Pulaharvi's presence in this series. I really
Yeah,
admire his commitment to the bit of how like he just will have every fucking possible profile picture that he can of him in multiple different jerseys. It's outstanding.
you know, I also look at that team for Abbotsford, and I really, really don't understand what the hell Vancouver's doing. Because, like, at what point do they just let Arshdeep Bain stay up at the NHL level? Like, he can't possibly be any fucking worse than anything they have on their current roster. Like,
He's got that Roman Anthony syndrome.
I'm kind of like, is Patrick Alvin just like a pedophobe? You know, afraid of young players?
The anti-Nambla.
Yeah, or like who? I don't know.
It's either
You
him or
know,
Rutherford being washed, which
call
like
me
is
let
definitely like a phenomenon for them at this point.
call me Lendrick Kamar though for calling somebody a pedophobe.
Oh, that's good.
Uh, but like you look at that group and you look at how bad the Vancouver legitimately was, and it's just like, at what point do guys like Baines and Wu and Hero say actually like get a look? Because like realistically, like after the JT Miller trade and the inevitable departure of Brock Besser, um, God, he's gonna go play somewhere and get a promo package from Paul Heyman, but that's beside the point. You know, we can blame EP40 in his, you know, one down year he's ever had in his life, while ignoring the fact that Vancouver's ability to put any competent fucking finishers or playmakers in his vicinity is another huge part of why Vancouver's just become such an ass team overnight. Like, I'm not going to give Rick Tocchet the full burden of guilt of what went down in 24 or 25. Like, that's not fair to Tocchet. Like, EP40's out here playing with guys like fucking Connor Garland, and we're talking about him being like an 80-point guy. Like, it's just not. It's not the way that anything should work. And like Vancouver's not gonna fix it. Like we're sitting here in a reality that their first line to start next season is Jake DeBrusk, EP40, and Connor Garland. And holy shit, that's terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like something to believe in to me. Is it 7.5 at this point?
Yeah. Speaking of teams that so you know, I'm gonna just start a rumor that's not a rumor. Wow. You know, it's really funny. I opened my timeline to Xander from the Hockey Writers talking about how the Bruins locker room is apparently pretty pissed off about how they handled the coaching situation. Uh, that new tidbit notwithstanding, and in the increased rumor mill of the Bruins being yes, in the words of the nerd. Um, I keep seeing on Rangers Twitter that people find that Alexis Lafreniere is untradeable with his contract, which is some real Marco Rossi, Bill Guerin energy. But if the Rangers have managed to single-handedly tank the trade stock of Alexis Lafreniere as much as it appears that they have, and that the Boston Bruins apparently have no desire to use the seventh overall pick, I really think if Don Sweeney had closing ability, finding a way to bring Lafreniere to Boston is probably the most intelligent thing he could do this offseason. He saves his bacon of getting a young player, and he also saves his bacon of accountability of getting a guy who can play with Pasternak and not be completely fucking terrible. And it's probably only going to cost him the seventh overall pick and, like, I don't fucking know, Nikita Zadorov, since the Rangers don't believe in Keandre Miller. I don't know. Just going to spitball that and hope it goes somewhere.
Only time will tell. 8.5.
But hey, man, like, you watch the Bruins, you watch how shit goes, and really, the player I feel worse for in this environment for them, with the promise of like getting back to where they want to be, and trying to get one, not wanting to rebuild, and also like wanting to be a competitive team. And really, I think every night, this next season and last season, I think David Pasternak just has to keep reminding himself that life goes on, and he's just never going to play for another like championship as long as he plays for the Bruins.
Oh, yeah.
And you hate to see it, but hey, man, the Bruins, when this contract's up, the Bruins are going to offer him $3.5 million a year on an extension. They're going to trade him to the Detroit Red Wings, where he's going to score probably 6 goals in the Stanley Cup Finals in like 2032. Yeah, no, even I've gone too far. There's no way in hell the Red Wings are going to be back in the Stanley Cup Final in probably our lifetime. Definitely not in the next 5 years.
Good old Jake Wallman. It is funny, like, how this series has served as like a microcosm of how the Wallman acquisition was terrific by Edmonton when they made it from San Jose, and then on the extreme opposite end, you had the Trent Frederick deal, which, as we discussed, was fucking horrendous.
You know, the Trent Frederick deal at this point makes me feel so warm and fuzzy inside as a Ducks fan. And you're like, where's the correlation? And it's really nice after, all of the unintentional trade deadlines sabotaging of the Bruins we inadvertently did with names like Nick Ritchie, Andrzej Kasha, Matt Bolesky, even though I don't think that was a trade, that was just free agency. And in the long run, Hampus Lindholm and his inability to be healthy in meaningful moments for them. Seeing all the sabotage we've committed to the Bruins at the deadline, and then seeing the Bruins finally hit that reverse Uno card on the Oilers this year, where Trent Frederick is their Andrzej Kasha. It's beautiful.
Yep.
Absolutely beautiful. Like, there's nothing more rewarding than getting assets back at the trade deadline to sewer someone else's playoff run. Like, I got to imagine Sharks fans were dancing in the street when Douglas Murray single-handedly derailed the Penguins' 2014 playoff run. Fuck, I love it when that shit happens. It's beautiful. Tyler Bertuzzi and the Bruins. Cody Ceci and the Dallas Stars. To be fair, Cody Ceci's the list of teams he's sewered the playoff runs of is pretty Hall of Fame worthy. Like Cody Ceci, Cody Ceci is to Stanley Cup runs. He's I guess the antithesis of Brad Marchand of deadline pickups. Like I can't for the life of me remember a trade deadline pickup to have the same amount of gusto that Marchand has had in the last couple months. I'm trying to think. Like Ron Francis was a big one, obviously. As was Chris Pronger, as was Marian Gaborik, but I don't know. Like this one definitely feels like one of the big ones. And I love for Bruins fans that this is the second time it's bitten them between Marchand and Bork potentially going on and just doing more elsewhere. To be fair, Bork's postseason role in Colorado is perhaps a little bit overstated in the annals of history, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of accept that he took a step back in that one playoff run, given how instrumental he was for them winning the President's Trophy that year and consequently having home ice advantage throughout the entire playoffs. And plus, you know, obviously forward versus defenseman, but like having all hands on deck, and just having guys who could eat minutes on like either side of the zone. Once Forsberg went out with a ruptured spleen that kept him out for the entirety of the next regular season as well was definitely important.
Yeah. Good old Forsberg.
Great player. God damn. Like one of the I think like even now with all the modernization of the games game that's occurred like he is still like one of the most like biggest like freaks of nature like that I've ever seen on a sheet of ice. Like there's just like I'd say like he is in like the same like Lindros-esque category really.
I am going to give, without a doubt, Forsberg one edge over Lindros head to head. Don't worry, it's not really relevant to hockey. Peter Forsberg, NHL history, all-time top 3 flow. I don't know how many guys have had hair comparable to Peter Forsberg through the years. And it needs to be said. Like, people love Yager's mullet, man. But Forsberg had better flow than Yager, and I will die on that hill. Man, this feels like one of the first time we have not talked about Peter Forsberg a lot on this podcast in the past, and that's a little upsetting to think about.
Yeah, I can only think of maybe like two instances before, and ironically, one of those two included me bringing up the ruptured spleen. I think when we were talking about the LA Kings of that era.
You know, I think that's important to really talk about too, as we do what we do very common with connecting us to the NFL. Where, Chris Sims is obviously one of the biggest disappointments in the history of professional football. But hey, at least he has one thing in common with Peter Forsberg. Or was that Rob Blake? I've lost my train of thought.
Take me as I am, not under your command.
Yeah, I think the fact that Chris Sims had a ruptured spleen 5 years after Forsberg is probably the closest Chris Sims ever came to being cool.
Oh, that's good.
And I think the other thing now that I'm just going to shit on Chris Sims because he's not a hockey player and it doesn't go against the narratives of us being for, positive narratives in hockey. Like, it's wild to think Chris Sims was a fucking terrible quarterback in the NFL and he was still a better NFL quarterback than he is an analyst. Like, his dad being a worse broadcaster than a player is fair because the man won a Super Bowl, but like, Chris Sims does not get enough hate for how bad he is. Like, it takes. Like, he is the worst. Like, I don't know. Like, I'd honestly rather listen to Stephen A. Smith talk about hockey than Chris Sims talk about football.
What about Colin Coward?
What is Coward talking about?
Hockey.
I'd honestly. Depends. It depends on who's talking about hockey with Chris Coward. If it's just
Chris
Coward by
Coward.
himself, if it's just Coward by himself, I'm morbidly curious because Colin Coward doesn't seem like he knows anything about hockey. But in the interest of saying something super outlandish, I feel like Coward by himself, like being expected to talk about, say, the NHL for 60 minutes, could probably give us at least three gems that are such horrible takes that it would be worth the entertainment. Like, I think he can have takes so bad that they're good. Where, like, Chris Sims has never had a football take that maybe just be like, that is so stupid, I love it. Like, this comes back to, like, the Eric Cherry take of, like, oh, God, who's the player that's involved in this? Oh, fuck. Like, this is on par. And I'm not going to get this right. I need to grab the right 70s Habs player for this. Because I don't remember who Eric Cherry originally used for this. I'm, I'm grabbing a random player from this team because the point still stands and it's logical that, you know, Malovlich is a better hockey player than Wayne Gretzky because he could defend himself while scoring. Is the type of take I would expect from like Colin Cowherd, like corresponding level of just yeah, man, like and like apologies to Eric Cherry. I know I got the wrong player from that 70s Habs dynasty that was originally used in this context, but like I'd rather have a guy who could put up 65 points in 75 games who could defend himself and fight than Wayne Gretzky any day. Like that is the type of content I would expect from a Colin Cowherd 60-minute hockey like stream. Just like, you know, knowing what I know about the European education system, you know, you would expect a guy like Mikkel Bodker to have had a higher hockey IQ than a guy like Matthew Tkachuk and how it should translate to the offensive game is the kind of take I would expect from Colin Cowherd.
Some hockey boomer would hear that fucking that fucking Peter Mahovlich, Wayne Gretzky take and think and just hell, they won't even think it. They'll say it out loud. Yeah, baby, talk dirty to me.
I think the worst thing about this take though is I sat there with John and Mike and really fleshed out this entire take to be like as brain dead as possible with the maximum amount of boomer appeal of like then you go to the next level and you're like, you know, there's a reason that, you know, in Wayne's world it's Stan Mikita's donuts and not Wayne Gretzky's. It has nothing to do with the cities they played in. It's because Stan Mikita wasn't a bitch. And bitches don't eat donuts, they get turned into them. Man, I really do need to Bud Dwyer after this episode. Because that way I can be Stan Mikita's donut. Which is how I think a lot of PWHL fans felt during the expansion draft. Honestly, wasn't that bad. I really don't think that the expansion teams are as loaded as people think. There's a lot of factors, and people are like, well, on paper, they're so good. And, like, these teams are also going to have awful travel schedules. Their quality of life could be terrible here in year one. There's going to be a lot of PR and media availability expectations. And, like, I still don't know who the coaches are. You know, for the Boston Fleet, I'm just sad that I lost my favorite player. And I really look forward to her having a breakout season. Speaking of Sydney Bard, for those who don't know us and maybe are listening to this for the first time, to really have her Eric Carlson arc that she's kind of capable of having under the proper coaching. Love to see that for her heading out west. Real excited for the PWHL entry draft. I'm really glad that Ian Kennedy once again leaked fucking shit too early and was wrong about the draft order, and I'll forgive him this one time. Won't forgive him for his awful take about Joe Quenneville in Anaheim. Like, bro, where was your fucking fake outrage when Stan Bowman got hired? Stop fucking virtue signaling. There's a reason I don't tweet about things that I disagree with from that level. But if I'm not going to hold everybody accountable, I'm not going to fucking cherry pick. And PWHL draft going to be pretty exciting. Really could have a lot of fun in the next couple of weeks with the first 3 or 4 picks. Really intrigued to see Danielle Marmer have another amazing draft and watch Courtney Kessel absolutely fuck it up again. It's going to be one of my favorite Boston sports pastimes.
Yeah. Not a lot of depth, but like some possibilities for some good gets and some good stories along the way.
I still am rolling internally about Ty Anderson hitting the pallbearer image for the Don Sweeney versus Red Sox GM comp tonight. Wasn't it?
Also, an old boy in the form of former relief pitcher and 2007 World Series champion Craig Breslow. This is why you don't do these sham hiring processes. Not that he's any different from any of the other, um, you know, any of these other John Henry stooges they've had in recent memory, especially if this is another ends up being another Mookie Betts situation.
You know, who the next GM should the for the Red Sox should be if we're speaking of John Henry guys. I think they got to go get Kyle Dubas. It's time.
Yeah, what the hell?
I mean, hell, he can't do any worse for the Red Sox than he's doing for the fucking Penguins. Damien will hear that later and fucking blow me up about it. I don't know. Damien might either be the like. I'm proud. I gotta give Damien credit. Out of every hockey fan I've ever met, especially in the Pittsburgh Penguins ecosystem, and this is gonna sound a lot meaner than it should. I've never seen a guy who's a better bootlicker for his organization than Damien. Like, it's one thing to be a bootlicker to the front office and the ownership, but he's also a bootlicker to the coaches and the players. Like, nobody in Pittsburgh, it's a good thing he's not in a management role there or in a beat journalist role for them. Because man, I've never seen a guy who's so empathetic to the cause of almost everybody that works for a specific organization. And I honestly wonder if he just worked for any hockey team in like an emotional support role, what he could do for player and staff confidence with the way he believes in every man in that organization. I can just picture him just giving Jason Spezza a fucking back massage. You're building a great farm team in the A. Keep it up, Jason. You're doing good. You helped Heatley get 50 in '07. Why can't you turn at least one throwaway prospect into a star in the NHL? Oh yeah, because they played in the AHL, so they'll never be shit. Any Dev League updates you want to throw in this week before we hit our big finish in the next 10 minutes?
Let's just take a quick look. I don't think there's anything too significant. Let's see. Check out Sportsnet's CHL to NCAA tracker real quickly. Fuck. Oh, one of my tabs is the fucking Wikipedia page for Mr. Big. I guess I can close that out.
Yeah, I prefer Mr. Small.
Billy Sheehan's not my lover.
The fact that I almost started singing Yes instead of Mr. Big is definitely
Interesting. Let's see.
I don't know, Chris Squire, Billy Sheehan, they're both funky.
Hold on. You know what?
I forgot that one is kind of organized like shit. Like they just lump all the teams together. Let's see. So in the past 4 days, we've had Connor Vidson of the Calgary Hitmen commit to the Colorado College Tigers. Uh, let's see what else we got. Yeah, that's the only CHL one that's occurred over the last few days. But from the Null, we had Sebastian Lilsund of the Aberdeen Wings commit to the American International College Yellow Jackets. Jan Gasper of the Bismarck Bobcats, who is headed to the Bentley University Falcons. Devin Shakar of the Chippewa Steel will be part of the goaltending depth for the Brown University Bears next year. Nicholas Snyder will be joining the University of Vermont Catamounts next season. Let's see. Um, the Austin Bruins had two commitments to the NCAA. Xander Lipset will be joining the University of the U.S. Air Force Academy Falcons next season. Let's see. Three actually. Ashton Bynum will also be headed to Brown. Evan Malkazian will be headed to the is it? Yeah, it's probably Malkashian. Harvard, the Harvard University Crimson. Harvard. I practically said there, embarrassingly. It's the hat, I think. But let's see. From the BCHL, we also had the Cranbrook Bucks. Grant Danuccio, who will also be headed to Air Force. And let's see. We additionally had one commitment from the let's see, the Tier 1 Elite League U18s, Detroit Victory Honda 18U. Royce Pitila will be headed to the Lake Superior State University Lakers this coming season. We actually did have some action 6 days ago as well. Most notably, Jacob Oster, goaltender for the University of Vermont Catamounts, and probably the biggest commitment of this past week, will be suiting up in net, coming from the Oshawa Generals. It's good get for Vermont there. Really have a good backbone in between the pipes. Let's see. Thomas Mercic, fairly big name from the WHL's Prince Albert Raiders, will be part of the forward core for the Colorado College Tigers next season. And lastly, Brady Wasilin of the Niagara Ice Dogs will be suiting up on ComEv for the Boston University Terriers next year. And that covers all the major events in that pipeline that have occurred since our last episode. So a bit of a slowdown in the official sense for right now, but the rumor mill has been very intense, and some major developments are bound to continue to occur, as we discussed earlier. So who knows? Probably even by next episode, we'll have some more developments there in an official capacity that we can discuss.
Oh, yeah. And that's the spice of life. I don't know. It's been an interesting, it's been a day. It's been a week. It's been a month. It's been a year. It's only June.
Yep.
Very excited for the NHL season to be done, which I believe it will be over by the next time we convene for this podcast, which is going to be very interesting, as that will put another season in the books.
Yeah.
Another year, another champion. And that, I think, rolls us to our big finish this week.
Yeah. And appropriately enough, I will discuss, what commences the set of events for the next year, albeit, things really start for 25-26 once July 1st commences the free agency period. But pertaining to the draft, I've kind of kept this on the back burner. But, obviously it's been on my mind a lot. And, I've known for quite some time without knowing really that when given an opportunity to talk with Cole Rushney during the combine, that the Flyers organization were going to like what they saw once they sat down with him. Having especially known already that Briere and Flair had seen him play in person on a number of occasions. Brent, not Rick, for anyone who's confused. Uh, woo! But also fuck Ric Flair because he's a douche. But in any event, and I feel bad saying that because that's an insult to women everywhere. But in any event, I also had a feeling that he would be able to get on board with their organizational direction if they did talk. But I think that his with the absurd PPG increase that he had in the second half of the year after already starting on a good foot, and then having that phenomenal postseason run and having another good international showing at the U18s, that his stock is incredibly high. I think our boy Cam Robinson is definitely on the pulse too when he evaluates that his standing has increased a lot. So I don't think you can just bank on the fact that teams are going to be averse due to size or skating critiques potential or real. I think that he has improved enough in estimations to where you can't really bank on him falling to you with the Colorado pick. So I think that if this is a player that they really want so badly, they have to consider moving parts of their tremendous draft stock to move up to the mid-10s to get this player, who I'm not just a fan of, but I'm convinced can be a very important part of their future, especially with the limited options they have down the middle, and who apparently, if they really want him that much, then I think they should not be afraid to show some ambition. I mean, as I've discussed at length before and written in a substantiated op-ed about, there's no point in them having these 7 top 2 round picks if they're just going to use them all. I really think they should be using some of what they have to move up, and I think this is the prime opportunity for them to do so, and the prime reason.
Yeah. Really, for my big finish, I'm really excited for the draft. Kind of not piggybacking off of what you said, but something I was thinking about a lot earlier is I do think we might see, and I'm really hoping to see GMs really be aggressive in this draft. I am internally, and I have no sources and I have no insiders for this. I am very hopeful and optimistic we're going to see potentially a lot of trades at the top of the first round. realistically, we know that there's 4 or 5, blue chip prospects in this draft. And with all of the fanfare for next year's class, with the fact that blue chip doesn't do justice to the guys at the top of next year's class, with just the difference in ability this year, I wouldn't be shocked if San Jose, Utah, if San Jose or Utah traded back in this draft, because teams are going like I look at the Bruins as a team that really needs to consider moving up. I look at you know a lot of the teams in that like between 8 and 14 that realistically could move up and probably should. Like, look, the Bruins are gonna fucking suck this year. So if you can move from 7 to 4 and get a guy like a Martone or a Frondell or a Misa or a Hagens without giving up any draft capital next year, just do it. You're gonna suck this year and you're gonna suck next year. Like in 25, 26, and 26, 27 respectively. Like, just accumulate as many goddamn assets as you can. And if you have to give up 3 third-round picks, or like if you have to give up your draft capital from the second and the third round to move up with, Utah, you're not going to hit on a single one of those picks anyway, given your historic track record. Like, at least get a top 6 fucking forward. And like the same goes for, realistically Buffalo and Seattle. Like just go get a guy. Like, you've been bad for years. Why hoard picks in this year's draft when you can just go up and get a guy? I don't know.
Facts. Yeah, I can definitely get down with those sentiments. But yeah, that about covers it for this week. So we'll see what occurs in these final 1 or 2 games. We'll see what discourse is happening in terms of transactions and potential draft activity between now and then. We'll see, the if the CHL to NCAA D1 pipeline picks up a bit, probably will. There'll be hopefully, some bombshells to discuss, perhaps on par with that transaction between the Boston Red Sox and San Francisco Giants that threw me at the beginning few seconds of this podcast. Perhaps there will be fewer glam metal references to make as filler. But yeah, it should be good. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to everyone who is checking us out on Spotify and YouTube. We'll see you again very soon. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.